talking about child abuse, and it's not an easy subject at all, especially if you've been abused like me, but I feel that we really need to be talking about this. We need not to just ignore it and hope it goes away because, you know, of all the children in our country, most are probably enjoying a good upbringing. And, it helps us have hope that, there's a lot of good parents out there who care about their children and want to do what's best for them. But there are times when maybe a parent has a mental health issue, or maybe um, people were raised in a home where that wasn't the norm, where the normal happy life wasn't the norm. And I said Saturday night that maybe there's no hope for sexual abusers. I think I'm wrong from what I've been reading, researching this to come talk about it. So let's open the conversation, and first let's find out exactly what constitutes abuse. So I'm on the CDC website, and let me get this first link. I'm going to give two. I will probably not go to both sites, but here's two different takes on that. And I really like the CDC link. So let's have a look. So, child abuse is when someone under the age of 18 may be exposed to abuse and neglect by a parent, caregiver. Oh, I haven't got my act together. Oh, Granny, I gotta do this one. Now I can go over here and you can see what I'm looking at. Okay. So, it may be a parent, a caregiver, another person in a custodial role like a clergyman, um, or a woman, a coach, a teacher, or a relative, so or a friend of the family. So, what are the four common types of child abuse and neglect? There's physical abuse, hitting or um, spanking that goes beyond just a regular, you know. Sexual abuse, of course, is touching in swimsuit areas. Emotional abuse is name calling, um, cussing kids out, telling them they're stupid, they're clumsy, it runs the gamut. Or neglect, withholding needs from a child like food or being able to play with other children or keeping kids home from school unnecessarily. So let's look at fast facts. These are serious public health problems, and they can have long-term effect on health, opportunity, and well-being. This issue includes all types of abuse and neglect against a child under the age of 18 that results in harm, the potential for harm, or threat of harm to a child. So, how big is the problem? Child abuse and neglect are common. At least 1 in 7 children have experienced child abuse and or neglect in the past year. and this is likely an underestimate. In 2019, 1,840 children died of abuse and neglect here in the United States. Children living in poverty experience more abuse and neglect. Child maltreatment is costly. The total in the United States, the total lifetime economic burden associated with child abuse and neglect was approximately $428 billion in 2015. It rivals the cost of other high-profile public health problems such as stroke and type 2 diabetes. So about 1 in 7 children experienced child abuse and neglect in the last year. So if you are passing a playground and you count 7 children, one of those 7 children has experienced abuse within the past year. This is not a lifetime total. This is right now, this year. Children who are abused and neglected may suffer immediate physical injuries, cuts, bruises, broken bones, as well as emotional and psychological problems such as impaired social skills or anxiety, depression, child abuse and neglect, and other ACEs. What's ACEs? Can have a tremendous impact on lifelong health, opportunity, and well-being if left untreated. So exposure to violence in childhood increases the risks of injury, future violence, victimization, and perpetration, substance abuse, sexually transmitted infections, delayed brain development, lower educational attainment, and limited employment opportunities. Chronic abuse can result in toxic stress, which can change the brain development and increase the risk for problems like post-traumatic stress disorder, learning attention and memory difficulties. So, how can we prevent it? We have to understand and address the factor that put people in risk for or protect them from violence. Everyone benefits when children have safe, stable, nurturing relationships and environment. So on this web page, there are handouts and there are different interventions that they're talking about. So we need to strengthen economic supports to family. We need to have more family-friendly work policies. We need to change social norms to support parents and positive parenting. So we need to have better laws to reduce corporal punishment. When I was in school, it was still practiced. I don't think it was really, you know, allowed for teachers to paddle students, but I saw a lot of paddlings when I was in middle school, and it was horrifying to me. And I never saw someone female doing this, but I saw a lot of the male teachers they had drilled holes in the paddle, and that, according to people I talked to who had a paddling like that, it was a lot more painful. And I saw a lot more male teachers using all their strength behind that paddle. It was gruesome to watch. And even though I never knew of anybody getting broken bones, they certainly would have had bruises, and it was traumatic to me to see that. And even the female teachers, when they were paddling, a lot of them did not do paddlings, but the ones that did seemed to use a lot more force than was necessary. I really it just makes me tremble on the inside to remember those memories, and I'm 62 years old. It has been over 50 years since I saw this, and it still makes me shake. So we need to stop hitting our children. I've got friends, I live in the South. Everybody spanks their children. It's very unusual to run across a parent who does not. And, a lot of people will say, well, spanking is not child abuse. Well, I don't agree with that opinion. Okay, so we should provide quality care and education early in life, going down this list. Preschool enrichment with family engagement. Improve quality of child care through licensing and accreditation. Um, we really need better quality child care. I had, when I was working, I had many very bad experiences with daycare with my children. I didn't agree with the way that they were shaming my younger daughter for coloring her tree trunks purple at 3. I didn't like a lot of the times when I would walk in the room and they would stop doing whatever they were doing. And I always made sure when I picked a daycare center that they had a walk-in policy that I could come anytime without notifying them, and I could see how they were treating my child. And I have to say that out of the many, many childcare situations I had, there were only 2 that I thought were really good quality. Well, 3, there was a third, but that's out of maybe 20 that I had my children in. One daycare center, which was county run, we are members of a church that does not believe in going to see R-rated movies as a general rule of thumb. We try to avoid profanity and violence and gory stuff, and just really we try to be careful what our children are exposed to. And we believe in not using profanity in our homes. So I definitely had a problem with them showing PG-13 movies to my 5-year-old. I talked to the staff about this repeatedly. They even poked fun at me about it when they gave my child a Christmas gift. I just I cannot understand this kind of attitude, and I didn't have a lot of choices about childcare because I couldn't afford to, I had to go where they had a sliding scale. Um, Wait a minute, they didn't have a sliding scale, but where they were cheaper. Because, yeah, the county run daycare did not have a sliding scale. That's right. So basically, I needed a child care that was close to the school because I could not leave work and come to pick up my child at school and take them to daycare. I had to have someplace nearby. And at the time, most of the child care centers that I was looking at, if they had transportation, you had to pay extra. And I couldn't afford this. So I was severely limited by my economic situation as a single parent. So, and I was very worried about the quality of the people who were taking care of my child. The education requirement was very low. And the folks that, a lot of them were really sweet, but I wasn't very happy about a lot of the methods they used. They weren't taught good communication, healthy communication patterns. They really, it was random whether I got somebody really good. And it just tortured me because having had 27 quarter hours in the behavioral sciences and having had experience with therapy most of my adult life, I knew healthy communication patterns and I could tell when I was not hearing them. And that's one of the most important things. That's one of the most important qualifications that someone who is taking care of children needs to have. They need to not lose their temper. They need to recognize when their anger is getting too high. They need to never name call. They need to never do verbal abuse to children. And I heard it at daycare and it made me sick. So, when I was walking in to pick up my child, I would pass the other classes and I would observe, and I didn't like a lot of what I observed. So, we need to improve the quality of the child care environment, and we need to at least make sure that the people who are working there at least know how to approach a child and talk to something without blaming, shaming, using bad language, any of that. So, yeah, we definitely need these things. We need to enhance parenting skills. A lot of times, the PTA would offer a parenting course for like $10. I could afford that, and I usually took them because it's never, no matter how much you know about raising a child, it is never a bad thing to add to that and update that. So I always took more parenting classes when the PTA offered them. I think the schools should offer these and, in fact, make them mandatory for all parents. And in early childhood, um, home visitation and parenting skill and family relationship approaches. I think that it's important that, if a social worker, for example, when I was doing homeschool, it's pretty routine that the school wants to send out a social worker to make sure everything's okay at home. And I never minded this. I would always, the worker would ask me if I minded if they talked to my child alone. I'd say, go ahead, that's fine. Um, these visits were not totally pleasant, but on the other hand, I was very willing for folks to come out and see how I was doing, especially after I made some very bad mistakes with my older child. So, you know, this can make a big difference. And intervene to lessen harms and prevent future risk. So, enhanced primary care. In other words, when you go to the doctor, the doctor needs to be looking for signs that things aren't all right at home and maybe making suggestions, um, especially if they notice a lot of bruises, cigarette burns, and cuts on the child. They really need to talk to that parent and say, what is going on? Behavioral parent training programs, definitely. There is no rule book on how to be a good parent. Basically, it's hit or miss, and sometimes we make the same mistakes that our parents and grandparents made. I think that it's really important to have programs so that if there's suspected abuse going on, get the parents involved in some training. Maybe they can learn better ways of dealing with conflict with children. It's not easy to be a parent, and it's not easy to be a kid, but the more you know, the better parent you can be. Treatment to lessen harms of abuse and neglect exposure. Especially if the parent doesn't see the behavior as abusive, definitely there needs to be intervention. Treatment to prevent problem behavior and later involvement in violence. This is so important, particularly for new mothers. They need to learn, what might be a trigger for their anger and how to deal with that. And if they need mental health care, then they should get it while they are a young parent. The earlier that intervention can be done, the better. So, Child Abuse and Neglect Resources has publications, data sources, prevention resources, all sorts of things. So, definitely, parents, have a look. And even if you're not a parent, if you want to be a parent someday, it's good to read up on these things and kind of um, get familiar with these kinds of guidelines that can help you not to end up being an abuser. And most parents won't. But if you had problems growing up, you need extra help raising a child that's healthy psychologically and physically. So that's that article. Let's just take a quick look. Let me see who's with me tonight. Welcome, Academy Impossible and Fix Lovin'. Good to see you again. Um, Let me know if you have any questions or comments, especially if you remember things from when you were a kid. Feel free to put some input here. And if you've been a parent, then, feel free to jump in with your thoughts on, if you've had any, just in general parenting, there's always questions. So feel free to talk about that. Let's go over to Mayo Clinic and see. They're probably going to say basically the same thing. Oh, they're also adding medical abuse. Medical child abuse occurs when someone gives false information about illness in a child that requires medical attention, putting the child at risk of injury and unnecessary medical care. So there are a lot of lists out there of what constitutes abuse, and as we will find out, there are other kinds that people are discussing. So, symptoms of children being abused. This is a good list. Withdrawal from friends or usual activities, changes in behavior, depression, anxiety, unusual fears, sudden loss of self-confidence, apparent lack of supervision, frequent absences, although frequent absences can be caused by other things, but I was sick a lot as a child, and I think part of that was stemming from some of the abuse that I was having. So definitely, it wasn't that I was being beaten up or anything, but psychologically, My father was very verbally abusive, and it really was very, very hard. And I think a lot of what I thought might be stomach flu, or what Mama thought might be stomach flu, might have just been upset from all the anxiety I was feeling. Your mind is connected to your body, so you can have physical symptoms from grief and emotional pain, as well as, you know, the other sequelae of abuse. Um, Reluctance to leave school activities, as if he or she doesn't want to go home. Well, a lot of times I didn't want to go home when my dad was there, so attempts at running away, I never did that, but rebellious or defiant behavior. If a kid is hurting inside, they're going to act out. And so a lot of times you may think, oh, what a mean kid. Maybe it's not that. Maybe they're getting abuse at home and that's why they act out. So it's important not to judge people. Self-harm or attempts at suicide. So physical abuse signs and symptoms, unexplained injuries. Doctors are really good at picking up on things like this, and injuries that don't match the given explanation. Sexual abuse signs and symptoms. Sexual behavior or knowledge that's inappropriate for how young they are. Pregnancy or a sexually transmitted infection. Blood statements that he or she was sexually abused. You should always believe a child. If they're saying they were sexually abused, they were sexually abused. Don't ever doubt them, because this is very harmful. And inappropriate sexual contact with other children. And that's something that we don't want to think about, but if they are taught that at home, they will express it. So they can get help and learn not to do that. But it's just a sign that they need help. It's a cry for help. Emotional abuse, delayed or inappropriate emotional development, loss of self-confidence, self-esteem, social withdrawal, depression, avoidance of certain situations, such as not wanting to go to school or ride the bus, desperately seeking affection, decrease in school performance, loss of interest in school, loss of previously acquired developmental skills, and neglect, poor growth, poor growth, weight gain, or being overweight, poor hygiene, lack of clothing or supplies to meet physical needs, taking food or money without permission, hiding food for later, poor record of school attendance, lack of appropriate attention for medical, dental, or psychological problems, or lack of necessary follow-up care. And sometimes a parent's behavior can send red flags. So a parent who shows little concern for the child, or appears unable to recognize physical or emotional distress in the child, blames the child for the problems, constantly belittles or berates the child and describes the child in negative terms, expects the child to provide him or her with attention and care, and jealous of other family members, uses harsh physical discipline, demands an inappropriate level of physical or academic performance, severely limits the child's contact with others, offers conflicting or unconvincing explanations for a child's injuries, or no explanation. And child health experts condemn the use of violence in any form, but some people still use spanking as a way to discipline their children. Any corporal punishment may leave emotional scars. Parental behaviors that cause pain, physical injury, or emotional trauma, even when done in the name of discipline, could be child abuse. So, and they've got some tips on when to see a doctor and risk factors, history of being abused or neglected as a child, physical or mental illness, family crisis or stress, a child in the family who is developmentally or physically disabled, financial stress, unemployment, or poverty, social or extended family isolation, poor understanding of child development and parenting skills, and substance abuse. And the complications of abuse are severe. Physical issues like premature death, physical disabilities, learning disabilities, substance abuse, health problems. Behavioral issues like delinquent or violent behavior, abuse of others, withdrawal, suicide attempts, or self-injury. High-risk sexual behaviors or problems in school, not finishing high school, limited social and relationship skills, problems with work or staying employed. Emotional issues like low self-esteem, difficulty with relationships, challenges with trust, unhealthy view of parenthood, inability to cope, and acceptance that violence is a normal part of relationships. And mental health disorders, eating, personality, behavior disorders, depression, anxiety, PTSD, sleep disturbances, and attachment disorders. But prevention is better than trying to cure what has already happened. Give your child lots of love and attention. Don't respond in anger. Go someplace and count to 10. Don't take out your anger on your child. Think supervision. Don't leave a young child at home. In public, keep a close eye on your child. Volunteer at school. When your kids are old enough to go out without supervision, encourage them to stay away from strangers and hang out with friends rather than be alone. There's safety in numbers. And to tell you where they are at all times. Find out who's supervising your child if you let them go spend the night. Know your child's caregivers. Check references. Make unannounced visits. Don't allow substitutes for your usual child care provider if you don't know them. Emphasize when to say no. Make sure your child understands that he or she doesn't have to do anything that seems scary or uncomfortable. Encourage your child to leave a threatening or frightening situation immediately and seek help from a trusted adult. If something happens, encourage your child to talk to you or another trusted adult. Assure your child that it's okay to talk and that he or she won't get in trouble. For example, if you're taking them to a therapist, encourage them they can tell anything to the therapist that they need to say. And teach your child how to stay safe online. Very important. Have the computer in a common area of the room, not the bedroom. Use the parental controls. Check your child's privacy settings on social networking. Consider it a red flag if your child is secretive about online activities. Cover ground rules. Don't share personal information. Don't respond to inappropriate, hurtful, or frightening messages. Don't arrange to meet an online contact in person without your permission. Tell your child to let you know if an unknown person makes contact through social networking. Report online harassment or inappropriate senders to your service provider. and local authorities if necessary. So, safety also means you as a parent need to read the terms of service on whatever sites your child is visiting. For example, Facebook recommends that you do not give a child under 18 an account. If you allow your child to go on Facebook and they're not 18, then you are actually violating the terms of service. A lot of games such as World of Warcraft, technically the terms of service say you have to be 18 to be there. A lot of families play World of Warcraft with their children, but you don't want to turn a teenager loose on World of Warcraft because the talk in the chat, in trade chat, gets very filthy. It is not good for children to be exposed to that, and there is even the possibility of sexual abuse on certain servers. They are not good about policing behavior, and you know, there are some servers on World of Warcraft that I stay away from, and certain places in those servers because people tend to get together and do things that they shouldn't be doing. You don't want your child exposed to that. So make sure if your child wants to use an online service of any kind, whether it's a social networking site or a game that's online, if it has a chat component, then the game might not match what it's rated. It might be worse. You can disable chat. There in World of Warcraft, you can disable the chat so the child cannot be exposed to that. So just be careful because anytime you allow a community, um, it's like turning your child loose in downtown Atlanta to turn them loose on World of Warcraft if you haven't got any parental controls engaged. So know on the activities that your child is doing online if there are things you can do as a parent to restrict certain activities until they're older. And do watch and make sure that your child is not getting cyberbullied, whether it's text messages on their phone or whether it is on online places. Know what's going on. Don't just be so busy with your working at home or whatever that you're not looking in to see where online your child is. You want to keep them safe, and you can't do that without knowing what they're doing online. And reach out, meet the families in your neighborhood. Consider joining a parent support group so you have an appropriate place to vent your frustration. These can be very, very helpful. I did some of that when I was a young parent, and it really helped me a lot because it's nice to hear that other people are having this kind of problem too, and, how they're dealing with it. I learned a lot by talking to other parents who had been through therapy with their children and what they were being advised to do. Then I would take that home and apply it in my situation, just the general things. So it's a good learning experience. Also, develop a network of supportive family and friends. And if a friend or neighbor seems to be struggling, offer to babysit or help in another way. Um, I was in a babysitting co-op when my first daughter was very young, and it was really neat because we would trade off babysitting. So I had opportunities to watch other parents at work as they were walking me through the home and saying, okay, this is where we keep this and this is where we keep that. And if this happens, you do this. And just definitely, there were a lot of parents in the group who were better parents than I was. And I learned a lot. So, definitely you're stronger together as a community than you are on your own, and there's lots of help available. And if you've been abused and you worry that you might abuse your child, you there are there's a lot more help available than when I was in that boat. There are national hotlines now, and you can also um, parent education classes are great. They helped me a lot, and so counseling helped me a lot. So, and if you have a problem with drugs or alcohol, do seek help. There's no shame in saying that you need a little help. And child abuse is preventable and often a symptom of a problem that may be treatable. Um, so, very good advice. So, I've got some other sources that I want to talk about with you, and I'm checking the chat. I'm not so sure that my stuff is going to go up. I'll get used to it. I'm using different scenes, so I haven't quite gotten to test them out really well. Um, okay, so in the vein of preventing child abuse, here's how to talk to your kids about sexual assault. This is from the RAIN site, and they are very good. They have a hotline. Um, so let's go there and let's talk about this. It can be stressful to plan a big safety talk about sexual assault with your kid, but conversations can be part of the safety conversations you're already having, like knowing when to speak up, how to take care of friends, and listening to your gut. Um, it can be as easy as talking about how to be safe on the playground. Start your conversations about safety when your kids are young, and I did this. Teach them the names of their body parts. It makes it easier for them to ask you questions. Some parts of the body are private. Let them know that, other people shouldn't touch or look at that. Basically, they were a lot of the materials I was getting from my child's school was about, swimsuit areas. So, you don't want to touch swimsuit areas. This is an easy way to tell your child, okay, you know where the swimsuit touches you. So that's, you shouldn't have anybody touching you where the swimsuit touches you. So, and it's okay to say no and talk about secrets, because the the people who victimize children often say it's a secret between us two. I had a no secret policy in our household. You know, I taught my girls that, it's not good to go blurting out what our income was to other people. But basically, if somebody asked how home life was, we had an open door policy with the neighbors. We pretty much, we didn't have secrets because it, I've never been able to be very good at keeping secrets. I mean, it's different if it's a Christmas present and you don't want to tell your sister what's in the package. But, that's an innocent secret. But, for the most part, um, we talked about that. My girls could always talk to me if they felt that if they had a problem with the way I was parenting them, if they had a problem with somebody at school, or, whatever was going on. I wanted to make sure that they felt like they could come to me with that. And, if they see someone touching another child, they shouldn't keep that secret either. And reassure them they won't get in trouble because it's so important for them to feel that they're not going to be accused of doing something if somebody's doing something to them. Children have a very different way of looking at the world. So, show them what it looks like to do the right thing. You know, there's one time I found um, I think I found a check and we returned it to the person. And so there were opportunities to do that sometimes. And, if someone overpaid me, if they counted the change back wrong, I would point it out and give the change back. So showing them what it looks like to do the right thing, definitely. We were always doing service projects in our church, and so that was a very good example to my kids, you know, and we had a lot of kindness from our neighbors, so, and when they come to you, make time for them. As a science fiction writer, I would be on the computer a lot writing stories, right? And when you're a writer, if you're in the middle of a scene, you can lose the whole scene and spend hours reconstructing it if you can't get it typed down while you're still writing it in your mind. But if one of my kids needed to talk, that was it. I just quit right there. I didn't care if I lost the scene because what my children had to say was a lot more important. I might say, "Oh, let me get to the end of this sentence and then I'll listen to you because I can't listen while I'm trying to do this." If I was involved in something, if I was paying a bill or whatever, then I would explain, "Can you wait just a minute?" And usually it's like, "Yeah, I can wait. I can wait." And so if it was something that couldn't wait, I just dropped it. But if you show your children that their time is important, and at the same time you teach them that your time is important too, and it's a give and take kind of thing, then it teaches them to do the same thing. And there's a link here to a kid's book about sexual abuse. So, also, as they get older and they become teens, you can use the media to make it relevant. You can show them news articles um and you can just sit down and talk about these things. We would watch something on TV and we would talk about it afterwards. It wasn't you know, it was about anything concerning safety. So if somebody did something where they, crossed the street in the wrong place and almost got hit, or if they fell down at the playground because they were doing something that wasn't safe, or if they, occasionally it comes up that, there's a stranger and, what's there to fear regarding strangers, like if they want to give you a present or something? Are they just being nice or do they want something? So we could sit down and talk about those things. And as my girls got older, we could talk about a lot more detailed things. And they could tell me about experiences that they had and ask me, was this so and so did so and so? Was it okay? And we could talk about that and um use your own experience to tell a safety story. And I did a lot of that. I didn't keep it a deep dark secret that I was abused, and I talked about, what happened, how it made me feel, and that I didn't go into great detail depending on their ages, but I let them know that my childhood wasn't perfect and my parents weren't perfect, but I also talked about what my parents did right. So I, you know, and I shared with them some things that I had changed about the way my parents parented me, what I was doing differently, especially where the healthy communication comes in. Being, we kind of had ground rules about arguments that we're not going to bring up the past, we're not going to call each other names, no matter how angry we are. We're going to just try to make I statements and say, when I see your messy bedroom, I feel like we might get bugs or something like that. So I would like to see stuff picked up off the floor, and I would like to not see food in your pockets when I go to wash your clothes, stuff like that. And so, talk about caring for their friends. It wasn't an unusual thing for one of my girls to come to me and say, "Hey, my friend is just feeling really sad. What can I do?" And so I could talk about the importance of listening and not necessarily giving advice, but just listening to the person and tell them that you're sorry they're sad and not changing the subject on them and stuff like that. Just regular good communication skills. And you know, it also gave the chance to bring up things that, if there wasn't something quite right about the way that their parents acted towards them, I would say, I really wish that my friend would be a little more understanding when such and such happens or something like that to you know and also I would tell them, when you're over there, if you see something that is, you know whatever, you come tell me. And luckily we didn't have anybody who was an active abuser or anything. It was just things like, you know, maybe they shouldn't have fallen asleep when, you know, because one of their kids did something bad. But, I wasn't overly critical of other parents either because I knew how it was. So, but it gave a good avenue to talk about issues and to, just check out, if you noticed anything odd going on over there. And um and I would, if it sounded like they were having a hard time, I'd go over and give them an opportunity to talk. You can support other parents that way. So it was you know just caring about everybody generally. And sexual assault, there's some things you just have to make your kids aware of, that, you know, people who hurt other people sexually, they're not necessarily ugly or sinister looking like the cartoons or whatever. So, um, and 8 out of 10 instances of sexual assault are committed by someone that you know. So definitely, just warning signs about boyfriends and, if they're trying to push a really close relationship or whatever, you know, and all this was future talk about boyfriends. I mean, neither of my girls actually had a boyfriend during school, but just in case that they were going to get involved with somebody just to make sure that the person was genuinely interested in them and not just wanting something not that wasn't healthy. So this is a really good website, and it has other articles here that you know definitely are worth a read. So, and they have their helpline there for any kind of sexual violence. So if you've got a boyfriend that's abusing you, um, also domestic violence, that hotline is there. So let's go on. So more tips about how to talk with children about abuse. So I'll go ahead and we'll look at this one. And this is a really good tip sheet. It's one page and it's an easy read, and it just gives some general things that are really good for parents to know. So let's go over here and look at this. And this is a PDF that you could even print out if you wanted to. Um, Many adults are uncomfortable about talking with children who have questions about child abuse or who unfortunately may be victims. So it was developed by experts to suggest language appropriate for communicating effectively with children about this sensitive subject, to answer their questions so they can understand without scaring them or getting them all confused. Don't assume that a child will behave or react in a particular way. Every situation is different and every child responds differently. Simply being available and having that listening ear may be the best thing your child needs. So, establishing or maintaining a sense of normalcy or routine can reassure a child and start the healing process. So, and there are references in this brochure from the community, so you can find these in just about every community across the United States. Oh, my kitty is jumping up on the furniture. So, what is child abuse? It's when an adult hurts a child and it's not an accident. I think that's a good way to put it. Hitting, constant yelling, or unwanted touching can all be child abuse. And I grew up with yelling. My mother never yelled, but my dad, oh my goodness, it was very, very hard to deal with. Um, if someone is hurting you or making you uncomfortable, ask the person to stop or leave and tell someone you trust about what happened. I never felt comfortable telling my dad to stop, which, you know, it wasn't an option. And a lot of times abusers are that way. So, you know, physical abuse is when an adult hurts a child by hitting, shaking, choking, burning, pinching, beating, or any other action that causes pain or injury. And that can cause cuts or bruises or other marks on you. Emotional abuse is when an adult hurts a child by always yelling at the child, threatening to leave, or saying mean things. So, if you're emotionally abused, you might feel all alone, that no one cares about you. Sexual abuse is when an adult or someone older than a child touches private parts or has a child touch theirs. Um, and private parts are what's under the swimsuit. And it's also sexual abuse if an adult shows a kid pictures or movie of people without their clothes on, or takes those types of pictures of children. You can feel uncomfortable, scared, or confused. Neglect is when an adult does not give you the food, care, and place to live that a child needs. If you're neglected, you might not have clean clothes, a bed to sleep in, or medicine when you're sick. Who abuses kids? Some kids are abused by strangers, but most are abused by someone they know. Abuse can happen to all kinds of kids, no matter where they live or how much money the families have. It can happen just about anywhere. Why would someone abuse a kid? That's what I'd like to know. Most adults care about kids and don't hurt them. It can be hard to believe that someone you love or someone who is nice can hurt you or other kids. But some adults lose their tempers or they can't control the way they act. Drinking alcohol or using drugs can also make it hard for someone to control how they act. An adult who hurts children has a problem and needs to get help. And it's never the child's fault. And how can you stop it? If you think you're being abused, the bravest and most important thing you can do is tell somebody that you can trust. Don't keep it a secret. Trusting someone after you've been hurt can be very hard to do. If you can't trust anyone at home, talk to someone at school. Maybe there's a favorite teacher or counselor or school nurse or a friend's mom or dad. And if that person can't help you, keep telling until you get the help you need to feel safe. What will happen to the person who hurt me if I tell? An adult who hurts children needs special help to learn to stop. While this person is getting help, you may see less of him or her. That may be tough for you. Your whole family may need help too. And it gives some more information about if you're required to report it. If a child tells you about abuse, then there are guidelines. So this one sheet has an awful lot of information. It's a very good resource. So now we'll move on to the next one. Anybody have any questions? Or want to, whoop, no, 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 go away. That's the wrong button. Ah, so, that's sometimes hi. Oh, bless your heart. Yeah, I am so sorry that you went through all of that. How are you doing today? Are you doing better or about the same? Bless your heart. Well, hang in there. It's not easy. Oh, I'm sorry. Did something happen to make things worse? I'm doing pretty well. Talking about abuse is kind of raising my anxiety level a little bit, but it's worth it. We all need to hear these things. So I'm okay. Oh no. Bless your heart. You've got hotline numbers, right? You've got, if you feel like hurting yourself, you really should call one of those numbers. and you don't have to put it off, you know. It can be scary to call one of them. I've called them before, and I was like, my heart was beating so hard it hurt. You know, I was just so anxious. But once I called and once I talked to them, they didn't ask me for my name. They just asked me how I was feeling, and I talked for a while. I felt so much better. It really stopped me from doing something about it many times. You know, I actually, when I did my suicide attempts, I did not call any of the hotlines. If I had, I probably wouldn't have done it. So I was very happy that I finally got the courage to call because I was terrified for years to pick up one. But you don't have to be in such bad shape that you're actually starting to do something about those thoughts, okay? You can call them just when you're feeling really stressed and you're scared you might start thinking seriously that way. And you don't have to wait until you're really getting scared and really just feeling like you're at the end of your rope. You don't have to get to that point to call one of those numbers. It's not just for people who, all right, I've taken a bunch of pills and now I'm waiting to die. You know, no, you don't have to wait, and you should not wait until it gets that bad. Um, oh, bless your heart. Was it during COVID? Because I know that everybody has been having issues because of all the isolation and the fear that goes with being in the middle of a pandemic. So I know that response times may be high. Um, well, they are 24/7, but they only have so many people, right? And maybe they don't have as many volunteers because maybe um some of their call centers used to be you had to go there in person, so I don't know if they've some of the agencies may not be set up to have volunteers be on the phones at home to, um, to take calls, so they may not have enough people, period, to cover everybody at all times. There are also peak times that people call, and that's unpredictable. But if you try one and it doesn't work, try another. There are lots of hotlines. If you look up your state and city and put in hotlines, then you can get hotlines for all sorts of things. Even if there's not one that's a suicide hotline and you're feeling that way, you can still call it and you can say, you know, I need to talk to somebody. And you can talk to them, and, you know, if one hotline is not responding to you, please keep calling others, and don't be so, well, I don't wanna say don't be afraid to call them, and there I go with another don't be. Um, if you need to talk to somebody and it's urgent, keep calling. Look up hotlines, there's all sorts of them, and, you know, you will eventually get through to somebody because they all don't have, um, bunches of people calling at once at the same time. So, one might be very busy and another might not have anybody on the line right then. So, um, the point I'm trying to make is you don't have to wait until it's really bad, and you don't have to wait on one number. You know, try others. It doesn't hurt anything. And when you need help, you need help. You can't plan it. You can't say, well, I need to wait until they're not so busy because you can't know when they're going to be busy and when they're not. but different hotlines, even if it's not your state or not your county, you can still call them. I've got a friend he's, a recovering alcoholic, and sometimes he needs to talk to one, so he'll call one that's in a different county. He likes them a lot, so he calls them sometimes, it doesn't, oh my sorry if I'm distracted, my plug fell out of my computer. I don't want it to cut off in the middle, but it doesn't matter, because really they're not going to say anything to you if you're in Georgia and you call one in South Carolina, they're not gonna say, "Oh, you're in the wrong state, I can't talk to you." They'll talk to whoever calls. So, if your county's hotline is busy, try another hotline in your county or try another county. There's always a hotline with somebody that is, free to talk to you. It just may be a little more challenging right now that so many people are using mental health services, but it's so important to get that good, because like I said, I'm not a therapist. Most of the volunteers on the hotlines are. So they have experience that I don't have that can really help you. So definitely, don't wait you know, until you've almost convinced yourself to do something. You want to start early with a hotline and talk to somebody so that you can get your emotions under control and kind of have somebody saying something positive and healthy to you, you know? Because those those tapes play, those memories, they just it's almost like physical blows, the memories. And so it's so nice to talk to somebody who plays fair, they're listening to you, they're following the rules, and they're caring about you, and they're listening to you and kind of telling you good things about you, just from their short experience with you. So, a lot of times they can kind of, um, get you to thinking that it's not as bad as I'm seeing it right now. Because you wanna break out of that, because the noise in your head will drive you nuts. These memories and that voice that goes, "Yeah, you caused it, yeah," and you didn't. You didn't. So, you wanna make sure that you're, you know what am I doing? I'm gonna go to the other screen so you can see me better. But, for you to be mentally healthy, this voice has got to tone down. And how I got it to tone down, now there's many different ways of going about it, but how I got it to tone down was I kind of pictured myself giving that voice a hug and saying, "We're having a really hard day here, but I need to feel like I'm doing something right. I really don't need to hear about all the things that I've done wrong or that, other people have thought I did wrong. I really need to hear that I did the best I can. I did the best I could in the past, and what I'm feeling right now is probably the sum total of all that anxiety and all of that hurt, and it's not necessarily the event that I just said, "Well, this happened and everything is just going wrong," and, you tend to panic. So being able to take a step back and say, all right, voice, I hear you criticizing me, but I don't want to be criticized right now. I'm feeling really bad. I don't want to hear about the things I've done wrong. Why don't you tell me something that I've done right? Or listen to me and I'll tell you some things that I've done right. Because you have to open up the door to those good memories. Because even in the worst of the worst, there's something good. There's something that you did that was good. There was something that people did for you that, and when you're hearing that voice criticizing you, you're feeling like, "Oh my gosh, I can't do anything right." And that's totally not true. Absolutes are not true. When that voice starts with, "Oh, you always do," you don't always do. Nobody always does. So you gotta replace those absolute words like all the time, always, forever. You want to take those and say, well, I make mistakes sometimes. I don't make mistakes all of the time. Not ever. Nobody makes mistakes all of the time. So you're allowed to say that. You're allowed to say, okay, I made a mistake, but this isn't the last time that I will ever make a mistake, and it's not irretrievable. I can do something about this mistake. I can change my script, my future script, because it's not written yet. Tomorrow will definitely be different than what today was, and I have a chance at a better day. So that voice that's yeah-yahing at you can't predict the future. So, you can kinda use these little mental tricks to kinda remind that voice that today is not forever. If I made a mistake today, maybe I didn't. Maybe you're telling me I made a mistake and maybe I didn't. Because all things are relative. As far as if I say something, one person will take it one way and one person will take it another way. Because when we communicate, we are not perfect. We may say another word instead of the word we meant to use, which can make the whole sentence sound like it means something totally different. And someone who is looking at you with a critical point of view, they're going to pick it apart. They're going to say, you said this and you said that yesterday, and But human communication is a complicated thing. We think of what we think we want to say. We decide the words that we're going to say. Sometimes the words come out wrong, and we use another word that we didn't intend. And we say, oh, well, that's okay. I'll just ignore that. Maybe to someone else, they're taking it an entirely different way. So it's a miracle that two people can be in the same room talking to each other and understand most of what is going on in the conversation, because there is so much room for human error just in talking. And there is so much room for human error in just understanding what the person just said. And when emotions run high, everything sounds wrong, you know? It's hard to slow down that anxiety, put the shoulders down, take a deep breath, and say, okay, maybe I didn't mean that the way that you took it. Maybe I meant it a different way. And especially if you say something that the other person is like diving on that and saying, "Oh, you really feel this. And they start bringing up things about the past and they start name calling. And whoa, what did I say? If you look at what you said, you probably didn't say anything that brought that. Sometimes it's the other person just blowing things out of proportion. That's what we tend to do when our feelings are hurt and emotion is high. So it's difficult to, once you've got relationships that are, damaged, it's hard to repair them. It's hard to get that trust back, right? So it's easy to say, oh, this is too hard. I just don't want to do it anymore. But we need not to give up because there's always hope where relationships are concerned. If it's basically a good relationship, you've got a love between you and the other person, you know, if they care about you, then there's still love. As long as there's love, there's hope. With friends, it can be different because friends can decide they don't want to be friends anymore and they don't really have that tie to you. And it's very difficult when you find out that somebody you thought was friends are not. Very, very difficult to rebuild that. But when you've got a really close relationship with somebody and you've got that love there, then it's a little bit easier to mend things. But the the key thing when you're mending relationships is you want to never give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on the other person. And if you tend to be nicer to other people than you are to you, you need to get your values straight. You need to be nice to you and other people. And if you slip up and you're not nice to someone, you don't need to jump on yourself and say, "Oh, how could you? Oh, you're an awful person." That is non-healthy because we are human, we make mistakes, we get irritated, we say something that maybe isn't very nice, and sometimes the other person's having a really bad day and they just but it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that you need to work harder, both of you, at communicating and finding out what's what and showing the love you have for each other. Human relationships are really complicated, but it's with relationships that we usually get into this situation where we've got that voice, and you just want it to hush, you just want it to go away. But I found by kind of being friendly to it and just every time it was going, I was just friendly and trying to be understanding of it. And after a long time, I started finding that when it was going, it didn't last as long. It wasn't as intense. I didn't feel like I needed to harm myself anymore. So it takes time to get to that point. And you really need a therapist. You need a good therapist. And you need one that understands the transgender stuff because it's hard if you don't feel they're on your side in the first place trying to develop a trust relationship. So, very important that you've got, you know, look for somebody with those qualifications that you need. And hopefully You know, if you've got trans friends, you might ask some of them, if they're seeing a therapist and how good are they? How did you like them? What did they do that made you think they were a good therapist? And did they do anything that made you think that they weren't such a good therapist? So, you know, it it helps. It's a little shortcut if you find somebody that already has a good therapist and they're recommending them to you. But it's also important to know, why do they think they're good, and did they do anything that you didn't like, and did you have to work through some stuff before you could work together, if they're still seeing them. So, you know, the more information you can find out, the better. But while you're between therapists, it's a really bad time because you don't have that positive input every week or however often you were seeing your therapist. So these hotlines can really be a life-saving stopgap. And, you know, I used to have all these rules for myself, "Oh, if I'm gonna call a hotline, I have to be doing something bad," And I had the misconception that it was just for when you were at the end, and that stopped me. And if I had called a couple of them, I would have found out that no, they're not just for when you're absolutely at the end. They are for any time you're feeling really, really bad to the point that you're, worried about your ability to hold on in everyday life. Just your ability to keep it all together and do normal things. It doesn't have to be that you're thinking seriously about hurting yourself and you've got a plan for that. It can just be feeling so bad about yourself, you just absolutely are paralyzed, you don't know what to do next. And that's a very good time to pick up that phone and talk to a therapist, because you really need to be able to talk. And there are some trans hotlines. Have you thought about those? 'Cause, that way you'd get somebody that is already on in your corner, and they're also a therapist. So, definitely, now the person you get on the phone, you can't ask them for their office number and go see them, because I think it's a professional thing. Um, they can't get customers from the hotline, so it's not that way. It's just, if you're having a crisis, if you're feeling really bad, that's enough to be able to pick up the phone. And they won't tell you that your problem isn't bad enough, because I was terrified they were going to tell me that. And they were just real understanding, and they let me talk about the stuff I wanted to talk about. And anything I didn't want to tell them, they weren't prying. So it was a wonderful experience because I felt like somebody was really listening to me and really hearing me. And it was hard for me to find that at the time. So definitely the hotlines are really helpful. And sometimes they can suggest something that you try, and sometimes it works really well. There's a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy type techniques that they can walk you through. So, one of the things that I was asked to do when I was going through that 6-week therapy was to write down some goals that I wanted. I needed to limit it to 2 or 3. And it doesn't matter if you don't meet that goal, but you take the goal and then you figure out, okay, so say, excuse me, asthma. it's rainy outside and the molds are just going crazy, and I'm allergic to a lot of molds. Um, one of the things was to think about 3 things that you want to accomplish in the next 5 years. So, um, one of mine is I want to get some sales on my newest book, right? Well, that's something that I can't really control. Whether people buy my book is not going to happen just because I wish it. But we came up with together, okay, I've got some errors in my manuscript that is up on Amazon now. So I could go through it again and get all the proofreading done better and then send it in again. So I'm in the process of doing that. And it's been really slow because I've had a lot of things happen that have been just traumatic. So I am way behind the timeline that I set, but I just gave myself a vacation from it for a while because I was just having so much stress. So then I started to start live streaming. So I am learning how to live stream and do the other things too. So I'm being nice to myself right now, and I'm not pushing myself to get my book redone again. Really, it's not a matter of redoing, it's just very tedious proofreading to see, okay, I've got an extra space here, I need to take that out. Okay, is my plot moving far enough, fast enough, and stuff like that. So I'm kind of looking for stuff like that too. I haven't really found anything that I can do anything about, but long story short, that goal did not get done. But I broke it down into little steps. And so I've been working on the steps and I have gotten some of them done. In fact, I reached another goal um, day before yesterday on my novel. So, I am working on it and getting things done. And I'm working on that list of things that were the baby steps that I needed to do to accomplish that goal. So, um, that one was okay. I had another one that I was gonna lose weight. Well, I've actually gained weight, which is discouraging, but I started over again, and it's okay to start over again on your goals. And, day before yesterday, I walked 10 laps between here and the living room, and I stood up and sat down 4 times, which for me is a lot. So I did get that done. Yesterday, we had to go out and, it wore me out so bad I didn't get to exercise that day. So today I tried to get up and walk, and I'm just really feeling crummy today. So I only made 2 laps today, but I walked. I walked. So you have to give yourself some slack. You can't always do all of your goals. And in fact, you can fill up your to-do list. I have a to-do list on Todoist.com. It's excellent, but don't do like I did and make all these categories and all these things. I really overwhelmed myself, so I've got to take a lot of stuff off that list and just concentrate on 2 or 3 things. I'm very bad about throwing more things that I need to do and then not getting any of it done because the number of things I've got on that list is overwhelming. But breaking it down into small steps, that's the key. And you got to stick to that and not be mean to yourself and add things to it. So That was one of the activities in cognitive behavioral therapy. Another one was just taking time to savor something once a day. And this was also something I ran into in the Science of Well-being course. And that is a wonderful thing to when you eat, if it's something you really like, then you try to just concentrate on how good it tastes, the texture when you're chewing it, how good it feels when you swallow it. I mean, all of that. Letting yourself enjoy it to the hilt, especially if you have ice cream. I love ice cream. And I usually have it once a day, which I probably need to cut down, but I've cut it down from having it more than once a day. So I am doing better that way. But when I eat my ice cream, I try to really concentrate on how good the caramel tastes on it and how good the ice cream is and how cold it is and how creamy it feels when I'm in the process of enjoying it and letting it melt in my mouth and enjoying the flavors. And, savoring is more than simply enjoying, it's being totally absorbed in that wonderfulness of something that's an innocent pleasure. And it can just be as simple as when it's light, walking outside and feeling the sunshine on your face if it's a sunny day. Or if it's a rainy day, watching for lightning and seeing if you see that or in a safe place, not out in it. But, um, you know, if it's cloudy, then clouds are interesting to watch. So even if it's rainy or cloudy, if you can see the sky from maybe inside the house, then that's part of it too. Um, just savoring life. There is always something good about life. You've got your new blanket. You ought to pull that over and just run your hand on it and feel how soft it is. And, maybe squeeze it and see how that changes how it feels and just explore your blanket. It's a simple childlike pleasure. Just enjoying your blanket and being glad that you got it. And, I kinda connected with you. You talked about being anxious about buying the blanket. Well, I bought some things online today because we thought we weren't gonna get a refund on the rent we paid, and we had to make an extra payment. So we had, the new landlord has credited us for the old balance that we had ahead. We had paid an extra month, so we paid 2 much months at once, and, so we had a little extra money, so we ate out, and um I made this order of some things that I've really been putting off that I needed, like, a microphone that will work with my iPad, so if I wanna live stream, a game from my iPad, I could do that. So, a couple of things like that, and I was feeling a little guilty because I got stuff, and my daughter was saying, "It's alright, these are things we need." There's, a few little things on there that we've needed for a while, and they were planned, so, I can certainly empathize with that anxiety when you buy something and you're wondering, "Well, what if I forgot about a bill or something? Oh my gosh." But, it's, um it's important to be good to yourself. Especially if you're constantly, that voice that never shuts up." you deserve to do something nice for yourself. And I've learned to do that over the years. I used to didn't. I used to be, oh, I was gonna withhold sweets, punish myself some way for daring to, have such awful things happening in my life, and I was blaming myself for all of it. And I learned in therapy that that's not productive. So it's not healthy. I shouldn't say productive. I should say it's not healthy to constantly be criticizing yourself when somebody criticizes you. You're supposed to be on your own side. You're supposed to be saying, well, maybe they had a bad day, or not sure, maybe they got their feelings hurt and they're feeling a little vengeful and all that. But you can say to yourself, well, all right, I'm not sure what caused them to act the way they are acting, but I have control over how I am acting. I'm feeling really down right now, and I can either choose to let that voice at me and, feel worse, or I can counter that voice with a virtual hug and saying, I did the best I could. I made some mistakes, but everybody makes mistakes. I have time to do better, you know? And if you didn't make a mistake and you have no clue why they're, doing mean things, then I've been in that situation too. And it really, really hurts a lot. But what you got to remember is that everybody is going through something because we are all sharing the COVID crisis together, and it's putting extra strain on all of us. And a lot of us are not at our best right now because of all that. Never mind everyday life and all the things that can happen in your everyday life. So it's important to keep focused on, okay, well, I'm still breathing. As long as I'm alive and breathing, I can do something about my life to help make it better. If I choose to leave this life, then it's all gone. It's not a good thing because then I'll feel guilty about leaving it, right? So there are things to live for, and sometimes those things can be little tiny things, like that comforter, just having something that you can just, you know, just enjoy the softness of. It helps, if you can let yourself enjoy it. That's the key. You gotta let yourself enjoy it. If you're doing that and it's like, "Oh, I shouldn't have bought this. Oh, this is," it's not gonna do you any good. But if you say, "Oh, I'm so glad I bought this. It's adding to my life. It is improving my quality of life. It's soft and I can hold it, and it makes me feel calmer to have it around me." You know, these kinds of things can be so important when you're feeling so stressed, you're feeling like you're at the end. It's important to look around you at what's in your surroundings and say, okay, this, let's see, let me think of something as an example. All right, I have a spoon here, We bought these spoons at Walmart some years ago, and they're rainbow. I don't know if you can see it on there, but it's got some purple, it's got some yellow and blue, and, just something as simple and really stupid as this gives me great joy because I remember the day we bought these, so it has memories attached to it. It's just a cold metal spoon, but I have all these good memories of all the times that we've used this, and my daughter and I have been together, and how excited we were picking it out when we had, we needed some new dishes, and we decided to get a whole set of dishes. So a lot of those dishes are broken now. Both of us are klutzes, but these, whoops, these, all right, let me get back to my dashboard there. But just having this spoon really, it's not the object itself. It is the just memories, the good memories attached to it. So that's what's important. Look around you, see if you've got any objects around you that bring good memories. Like this spoon brings all those good memories to me of, you know, things that we ate with it and things we talked about while we were eating, things that we um, just experienced together that were good things. You have to prove to yourself that there are good things in your life, especially when you're fresh out of trauma. And sometimes just something as simple as this, just being able to something that you can look at that has good memories attached to it. And it really is important that it have good memories because you want to feel those good memories. You want to remember them. And if you've got things around you that have good memories, if you've got something in your room that does not have good memories, that reminds you of trauma, that you really would rather not have, give yourself the permission to either donate it or throw it away because you want to survive here. And the way to survive is to find something that's pleasant, that brings good memories, that helps you to prove to yourself that, hey, I'm a good person. If you've got a reminder of something good you did, the things we've got around ourselves that is soaked with memories. Everything around us is soaked with memories. So it's good to try to concentrate on the good memories when you're in a crisis and you're thinking that, oh, everything is going wrong, everything is bad. You can come up with 10 million reasons why everything is bad and you don't want to be alive right now. But if you start thinking about the good things and reasons that you want to be alive, tomorrow maybe it'll be sunny and you want to walk outside and enjoy looking at grass and green things. You know, just something as simple as that can be very healing. And that's what you need is healing, you know? And one of the things that we read in that in one of the links about self-help groups. Sometimes self-help groups can help a whole lot. You know, people that have a similar interest to you that are interested in something that you're interested in, or just just something to look forward to. So, let's look at some more of these and see what else we can find out. Um, so let me look for something else. So I'm going to, did I go to the wrong thing? I did. Okay. So I'm going to go back to this other scene and let's look for what to do. Let's see. Well, not even that. Let me look. Oh, I might not be able to do that. Let me do a search here. Not scholarly articles. Let's see. Okay, here we go. How cognitive behavioral therapy can rewire your thoughts. Now, I'm not pushing cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm not saying that it's the cure all for everybody, but I wanted to give some examples of how it helped me. And there are some things in there that you can use on your own, even though you need a therapist. You really need, it's kind of like having a set of tools, but how do you use these? The therapist is the one who teaches you how to use them. But the tools are out there. Um, so the reason I'm bringing this up is I think it might could be a way that you can have some help now. Oh, I hit the wrong thing. Sorry. Um, so here's a little bit about cognitive behavioral therapy. Don't do that. There we go. Oh, sometimes that window pops up and it covers up my screen and it stays there. I don't like that. Okay. Alrighty. I'm not gonna go into a long and boring thing, but let's see, popular techniques. Okay, SMART goals. When you're setting a goal for yourself, you want to be specific. You don't want some vague goal like, I want to lose weight. That's very vague. Like, how much weight? And over what time period? And what do you need to do to lose weight? So, SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time limited. So, specific, I want to lose 5 pounds. Measurable, I can measure 5 pounds by stepping on the scale. Achievable, I know I can lose 5 pounds because I've lost it before. Realistic, 5 pounds is a good goal because depending on the time frame, because it's a small amount. You're not talking about losing 50 pounds by next week. You're talking about 5 pounds, which water weight can lose you 5 pounds easily. And time limited. So, what's a reasonable goal for losing 5 pounds? 3 months. You might say, what? You can lose 5 pounds in a week if you want to, if you're motivated. But to make it small and bite-sized for me, I would say, all right, 3 months to lose 5 pounds. And I can start thinking about, okay, what do I not eat to achieve that goal, but I don't want to starve. I don't, because I won't do it again. If I starve myself and it's miserable, I'm not going to lose that 5 pounds again. But if I am going to, do like my doctor told me, because I've already talked to her about this. So I'm going to eat healthy foods. I'm not going to starve myself. I'm going to not get malnutrition while I'm losing weight. I'm going to cut out things that are not nutritional necessities, like maybe half my dessert instead of all my dessert. Then that will make a measurable difference in calories, but it won't be a great hardship. I won't be moping around because I can't have but half my ice cream. It's a good goal, so for me, but it might not be a good goal for somebody else. But okay, guided discovery and questioning. By questioning the assumptions you have about yourself or your current situation, your therapist can help you to learn to challenge these and consider different viewpoints. So, for example, um, I would look at, like, when do I want to overeat? When I'm stressed because somebody's mad at me. you know? So you think about, well, what is it about that makes me do that? Okay. If I used to self-soothe with food a lot, and then I ate too many sweets and got in this shape. So, it's been a chronic problem, not just a one-time thing. So, what assumptions do I have about myself? Well, I assume that I'm fat. Fat is really a derogatory term, so I shouldn't be using that with myself. I should be thinking about, all right, I want to weigh less because it's healthier to weigh less. So 5 pounds is a start. If I can lose 5 pounds, I can lose 10 pounds. If I can lose 10, I can lose 15, and on and on. But the first 5 pounds are what I need to get to. And so I'm not going to be telling myself that I'm a fat slob, because that is very destructive thinking. I'm going to think about, all right, I'm not unattractive. I'm not the prettiest girl on the block, and I've got all these wrinkles and stuff, but I tend to smile a lot, which makes me appear pleasant. So I don't have to tear down my appearance while I'm trying to lose this 5 pounds. I don't need to assume that I am never going to lose this weight because I am never not going to want sweets. Questioning that assumption that you have to starve yourself to lose weight. There's a lot of things that you can learn, to be realistic about things. 5 pounds is a realistic first goal for losing weight, or maybe even I'm gonna lose 1 pound this month, you know, or something like that. So You break it down, you say, well, that's just a few less calories every week from what I would normally consume. So, um, and journaling. If you have negative beliefs about yourself, you can write those down, and then you can look at that list and say, well, this one, I know that's not true because I was just upset and I was blowing it out of proportion. This one, I know that's not true because I am working on the problem and I'm trying to do better. So you can, if you write down your negative beliefs about yourself that voice keeps yeah-yahing at you about, then you can come up with reasons why it's not accurate. And, you know, there can be some that, well, I need to quit eating sweets so late at night. Yeah, I agree with that. I need to cut down, but it doesn't make me a bad person because I want to eat sweets late at night. So, all sorts of stuff like that. And it works with anything. And especially self talk. This is what I've been talking about a lot here. What you tell yourself, that voice that goes, you did this. Um, what you tell yourself about when you get upset, a certain situation or experience, and challenge yourself to replace that negative or critical talk with compassionate, constructive self talk. I'm a good person because my mother loves me and I have friends who love me, and if I was a bad person, I wouldn't have anybody that loved me. And if you're questioning whether they really love you, well, it's logical and reasonable to assume that your mother loves you because mothers usually love their children, right? So it would be extremely rare to find a parent that hated their child. So even if someone's abusing you, they might love you. They might just be, doing a lot to negate that. But it's not, um, what am I trying to say? It's, you want to look at the facts and you don't want to let your bad opinions of yourself take over. You want to say, well, I have good qualities, and think about them and name them. And that can be the hardest first step, just to admit that you have good qualities when you're feeling so badly about yourself. But everybody has good qualities. So, cognitive restructuring. This involves looking at any cognitive distortions affecting your thoughts. What that is black and white thinking, thinking, I'm bad. Nobody is bad. They may have bad behaviors, they may have bad beliefs, but bad and good are relative terms, so let's break that down. If someone believes that you are weak and helpless and they are privileged to abuse you, they're dead wrong. That's not true. So you can pick that out right there. Someone who is laughing at your discomfort, that is not normal behavior and it's not reasonable behavior. But if someone buys you an ice cream because you're having a good time and they want to be nice, then, you can take that and say, well, they like me. They bought me this ice cream and we're having a good time talking to each other. And they're not saying bad things about me. So, you want to hold on to those memories. If you got memories of somebody just doing something nice for you out of the blue. Um, so the black and white thinking is thinking I'm bad or thinking that I'm so good that I'm above other people. That's black and white thinking. Most people are shades of gray, right? They have varying levels of self-esteem. They're, you know, jumping to conclusions. Just because somebody blows up at you doesn't necessarily mean that they hate you. Maybe they're just under pressure and they explode all over you, and later they're going to apologize. So, um, and catastrophizing, um, that's when you feel like the world has ended. I cannot do anything about it. I'm at the end of my rope. I can't hold on to anymore. That's catastrophizing. No situation is that bad. You just got to step back from it and try to calm yourself down and start thinking rationally again, because it's not the end of the world. The world will still be there tomorrow. The sun will come up tomorrow. You will be able to do the same things you do every day tomorrow. So nothing has ended. It's your perception of how bad things are that is making you think this way. But if you can just calm down and just bring the anxiety level down, and if you can't, then you need to grab one of those hotlines and let them talk you down, because they can if you let them. So, and then thought recording, um, you look at what you're saying to yourself and you look at the evidence, just like a lawyer would in a court. Okay. Um, Is this true? Why is it true? Is this false? Why is it false? So you come up with several things on either side, and what sounds the most reasonable and rational is what you should go with. And 9 times out of 10, when you've got that negative self talk, it's not true. It's just your emotions being out of control, and it's familiar because you've been abused and you got used to that sort of thing. You need to get unused to it, because that's not normal for somebody to just tell you how bad you are all the time. But you can get to a point where you can counter that talk, and it comes of looking at what you're saying to yourself and saying, "Is that true?" And come up with some things on either side. And then maybe you can start thinking, "No, it's not true. I'm not a bad person. I do good things sometimes. And, I've done this, this, and this, and this that was good." So you kind of have ammunition when that voice starts yelling at you. Then you can say, "Wait a minute, wait a minute. We need to calm down here, because it's not like that." And you have to believe that it's not like that. And you might not at first, but if you start coming up with these reasons for these hurtful things that you're saying to yourself to not be true, then you can start feeling better about yourself. But it's like taking medicine. If you have high blood pressure and your doctor gives you a pill for high blood pressure, if you take it once and you say, "Well, I didn't feel anything from that, I'm not going to take it anymore," it's not going to keep your blood pressure low. You need small doses of that medicine on a regular basis to bring your high blood pressure down, and so that you don't have a heart attack down the road, right? So you can think of this emotional turmoil as something that you don't need to be feeling. So little by little, you need to say to that voice, "Well, I did this today, so what you're saying is not true." I did that today, so what you're saying is not true. And look for those lights at the end of the tunnel. And it's hard to do at first, and it doesn't feel natural at first, but as you get to talking to that voice and embracing it and saying, "You don't have to be scared." You're saying all this because you are scared. You're scared if I don't straighten up that the abuse will just keep going and all that, but you're not helping me to deal with this. And just talk to it like it was another person. It's still parts of your personality, but you can talk to it like it's a person and say, "Look, I wanna be friends with you. I don't wanna be arguing like this." And just talk to it like you would a trusted friend, and eventually it seeps through. You still have it. It never stops yelling at you, but it does get a lot better. It's not as loud, not as intense, doesn't last as long the longer that you practice these techniques, and I've done stuff like this for years, and I have to refresh it and go back to it and keep doing it because I forget, and when I do, my self-esteem starts going down, and I've gotta start, doing the stuff again. Positive activities. You gotta have a reward for yourself every single day, whether you feel like you deserve it or not, and you need to tell yourself, "I deserve this." Like you got your cover, your, duvet cover for your duvet, you got that because you deserve it. And you need to lay out the reasons why you deserve it. You had enough money, you haven't got a bill hanging over your head that you need to pay. You bought it and you must have wanted it pretty bad to save up for it, right? And all the things that prompted you to buy it when you were reading about it online, or maybe you just saw it in the store and you started looking at all the good things about it and then you planned your purchase. But however you found out about it, you had a lot of good reasons to spend that $40. So you need to keep reminding yourself of the reasons you bought that blanket. And that blanket can be kind of a symbol of feeling better about yourself because of the memories that you're putting into it with talking about to yourself, "Well, this is why I wanted this blanket, and this is how it makes me feel that feels good. And these are the good qualities about this blanket." And, you know, all the good things about it. You need to remind yourself why you bought it, why you wanted it so badly, and what it's doing for you. And you need to assign it some things to do for you, Um, Say, "Okay, blanket, you're soft. I wanna keep you soft. I'm gonna try to keep you as soft as I can because I enjoy the way you feel on my skin. I enjoy the amount you weigh on me. It helps my anxiety." And just keep going over the things that are good. And back to the list, situation exposure. This involves listing situations or things that really get your anxiety up there in order of the level of distress that they cause. And then you slowly expose yourself to the things. Now, obviously, you're not going to pick the top stressful thing on the list and do that first. You're going to put them in order and you're going to start small with something that just causes a little stress. Systematic desensitization is a technique where you learn relaxation techniques to help you cope with your feelings in a different situation. But first, you need to do some of the other things and just start slow, and a therapist can be a good guide for you as to where to start and what to what homework to do every day. You don't wanna have so much of it that you're anxious about the amount of stuff that it is. You wanna just start really, really small, because when you're in a lot of pain, you wanna be kind to yourself. You don't wanna punish yourself with your therapy by, "Oh, I didn't do this, and I was supposed to do that, and I need to be moving faster," and you need to kinda calm down that voice and say, "I know you're scared. It's okay to be scared. We're gonna start small so we don't get as scared." And give yourself permission to not do it all today. Give yourself permission to just do a little each day. As long as you're doing a little bit each day. Remember I said that a couple of days ago I went 10 times between the bedroom and the living room, and today I was only able to do 2, and yesterday I wasn't able to do any. And I felt really bad about that, but then I said, "Well, I'm doing the best I can. We've got a storm moving through, and it's been hard on my body, so I can't do what I normally do when it's sunny out, so I have to do what I can do." And you just kinda talk to yourself like that and give yourself permission to feel what you're feeling. You do not have to feel all better all of a sudden to please anybody, including yourself. You can take the time you need to just calm things, to just feel like, just a little at a time that, okay, I'm doing something right. You got to find things constantly to tell yourself that you are doing that are healthy for you. And you have to give yourself permission to cry if you need to cry, or to laugh when you need to laugh, to be angry when you need to be angry. But the trick is with the negative emotions is to channel them into something that's good for you. All that energy can be taken and used. When I used to get angry, I would go and try to do more house cleaning. It made my environment better. And I had to be careful that it didn't turn into self-punishment either. I found that I could balance it out, and I could, not do it to absolutely break myself down and wear myself out, but do it to feel better about my environment and not feel so guilty about stuff. So little things do count, and you gotta tell yourself it counts. If it's in a positive direction at all, it counts, it's valid, it is important. You wanna give yourself a break, because how do you get to the point where you wanna end your life? Because yourself won't let you alone. You need to make friends with yourself and give yourself time. Cause let's face it, when you're hurting, you don't want to take any time. You wanna feel better now, and it's very hard to tell your little kid inside, "Honey, you gotta wait for that dessert. You gotta eat your vegetables first?" You have to negotiate with yourself. You can't have the relief that you want so desperately all at once now. You've got to work towards it, and it's like, "Well, I'm already hurting so bad, and I have to do all this stuff. It's so hard." And it is hard, but it's worth it. Picking up that phone and talking to a therapist on a hotline is very, very hard to do. I've been there. But once I did, I kinda knew in the back of my mind that I would feel better because I had good experiences in therapy, and I knew that was what I needed. but it was real hard to pick up that phone and talk to somebody I didn't know, and I was scared, well, what if they have a bad day and they're mean to me and I'll just feel worse? But I never had that kind of experience ever calling a hotline. So you tend to come up with all these unrealistic reasons why you shouldn't do something that's good for yourself. And it's kind of human nature. We do that. But it's a need to feel better. It's not a want, it's not a choice. You, when you're miserable, you need to feel better. And if you choose something that's healthy for you to help you feel better, then you're all the better off for it. So I'm hoping that this is helping. I'm not sure that I am, but I hope that it's helpful because, you know, you want to be good to yourself while you're healing. If you fall and break your shin, then you have to go to the hospital, the doctor has to pull on it and set it, you have to wear a cast for maybe 6 weeks, and you can't go and do sports while you're healing. So, you know, the frustrations of dealing with hurting are many. And you've got to consider that when you are hurting psychologically that bad, it's as serious as a broken bone. Because what happens when you break a bone? You can bleed to death, right? That's why you have to go to the hospital and have a doctor help you so that you can heal. So think of it as, if you're hurting so bad that life is just unbearable, you need to think about, okay, what can I do to make this better now? And it's not picking something that, oh, I'll go get drunk, or, that won't help. It'll just make you sick the next day. Or, oh, I'll go take a drug to knock myself out. Well, you still have to deal with the problems when you come to. So, I mean, you want to pick something that's a healthy way to deal with all that emotion. So, if you can take a walk, that's a healthy way to deal with it. Not an unreasonable walk, just a short one, just to get some fresh air and just to change your environment. If you've been in your room for a long time and you're dealing with all this overwhelming emotions, your parents are maybe in the next room. Maybe you can go and talk to them, your mom and your stepdad, and tell them that you're just feeling overwhelmed. And hopefully they will listen and help you to feel a little better. It really helps to talk to somebody when you're in this position, because that way they can come up with reasons why maybe some of the unreasonable things you're telling yourself are not true, because there's still things to enjoy in the world. There's still innocent pleasures that your inner kid needs that you can give to them. There are all sorts of things that can help you to kind of calm down, not be so upset, and you think better when you're not as upset, right? So just taking a deep breath and let it out slowly, and maybe just concentrate on inhaling and concentrate on how that feels, how the breath feels going through the back of your nose into your throat and down into your lungs. how your lungs feel as they expand as you're sucking air in, how warm or cool the air is, and how it feels as it nourishes you. And maybe imagine a little warmth in there as you're breathing in. And then when you breathe out slowly, and thoughts will come, and maybe disturbing thoughts will come or memories, but just picture them like leaves on a stream. You're going to just let them go by you. You're not going to try to hold on to them, but you're not going to try to stop them either, because trying to stop thoughts doesn't work. I don't know if you've noticed this, but the harder you try, oh, I'm not going to think about that. And the harder you try not to think about that, you're thinking about that. That thing you don't want to think about, you're thinking about it. So instead, just kind of let go of it and let it be there, but don't participate in it. Don't say, oh, that just is proof of whatever. No, don't judge it. Don't judge it. Just let it go by. Don't think of it as bad or good or indifferent or anything. Just let it go by, and instead try to think of something that made you happy as a child. Children are easy to please, ridiculously easy to please. I mean, my 3-year-old, I would give her a wrapper off a piece of candy, and she would spend hours just straightening it out and then wrinkling it up again and then straightening at it again. It was funny to watch her just enjoying that. Um, and if she had a bunch of them in a row, she'd be doing that to all of them, just having a good old time. It was a simple thing, but for that little space of time, it totally absorbed her and she enjoyed it. So think about something that you enjoyed as a child. Maybe there was an insect that was really interesting to watch that you enjoyed watching, or maybe it was a kite in the sky when you were passing by a park or in a park. Maybe it was the smell of pastries in a pastry shop, if you've ever been around those, or just anything that gave you childlike pleasure. It's good to revisit those memories. I can remember when I was a little girl flying a kite for the first time. And I just really enjoyed that. That was a pleasant memory with my father. That was an innocent memory, and it was good. And even though I have a lot of the bad memories, I hold on to memories like that kite day because it was so much fun just to go outside and run with that kite and get it up in the air. And then we had a very long string. We took several balls of strings and tied them together, right? So we had that kite so far up in the sky that it was almost hard to see. And it was so fun. It flew for a really long time, and then finally it came down and it broke. But that memory is still just as strong in my mind. It was a very windy day, and the wind was almost thick because it was so, it wasn't enough to blow me over, but it was enough that I really felt it well. And it was a beautiful blue sky day with a few fluffy white clouds, and it was just a perfect, perfect day. And I guess we only flew the kite for an hour, maybe 2 hours. But just that space of time, it felt like all day, and it was very, very pleasant. So if you can think of memories that affect you as that memory affects me, that memory makes me feel like a little girl again, like I had all day and I could do whatever I wanted. I didn't have pressure to do anything. I could just relax and be myself and enjoy a little time with my dad when he wasn't yelling and he wasn't doing anything that I didn't like. It was such a wonderful day, just a dad and daughter enjoying an innocent activity together. It was wonderful. And it's important not to throw away memories like that because you have the horrible memories. People are not black and white. They're not all good and they're not all bad. And they can do very awful things that they never should have done. I'm not trying to say that your dad should have done those things to you. No, no, he shouldn't have. He never should have. And there is no excuse for that. But at the same time, he probably had some good qualities that, there might have been some good memories mixed up in there somewhere. Because I know with my father, there were some good memories. We got into a 4-hour discussion one time on how the moon could act like an antenna. Dad was really smart, and so we talked about what if the moon was made of copper, and he said, "Well, actually, it's iron and nickel, and there's probably a good bit of copper in it too." We didn't know as much about the moon until 1969 when we sent a man to the moon, and I was there for that. Um, over the TV. Not there, but it was fascinating to me to talk about things. I was 11 when Mr. Armstrong set foot on the moon, and it was so exciting. And the local gas station had these models of the LEM and the other module, and I built it and I hung it from my ceiling in my room, and just there was so much excitement about the space program. So it was really cool that I was able to be alive during that time. So there were good things about my childhood, and I treasure those. It used to be hard to think about anything. I didn't want to admit that any part of my childhood was good. But there were many, many good things. And it's not realistic to say, well, there were no good memories. There were. But you don't want to throw them out with the bad. You want to hang on to the good and normal memories because it's normal for a little girl to want to spend time with her dad, and it's normal for a dad to want to fly a kite with his little girl, and it was something we both wanted to do, and we enjoyed it very much. So it gets easier to remember the good times when you work through how you feel about the very, very bad times. There is light at the end of the tunnel. There is a way to get healing and to get your self-esteem back up and to be able to function more in a more healthy manner. You have to believe it's possible, though, and for a while, I didn't believe it was possible. I just thought that it was just going to absolutely destroy me. But life is not all good or all bad. There are things that happen that we don't want to happen in everybody's life. Not everybody has those experiences that we are talking about abuse. But there is healing, and it is possible to work through and get to the other side. And you don't feel all okay. It doesn't make it all better like a Band-Aid seems to, your skin does eventually heal, and maybe you've got a scar there. Those scars on your psyche stay, and you can have times when all that nightmarish emotion comes back. But the important thing to remember is that there is a way through it. It may sweep you off your feet, but it will not sweep you away. There is still time to work through it and find joy in life again. And I worked through it, and I did, and a lot of people have, and I hope I really hope, miss, sometimes that you do call one of those hotlines tonight. Don't put it off. And I hope that you find your light at the end of the tunnel. I can tell you that it's there all that I want to, but until you can believe that it's there, you won't see it. But I know it's there for you just like it was there for me. Because most of this working through the grief and the pain and the trauma, working through that, it's hard. It's very hard. And it's hard to hang on to hope. Sometimes hope is just a thread. But if you can just hold on to that thread of hope and say, there is hope, and I know there's hope. If you can think of some situation that was really, really bad where maybe, you were being abused and another adult came in and they had to stop, you know, think of the times that maybe you were rescued. Think of the times when maybe you had a thought during the abuse that helped you hang on, you know? Sometimes you can think of things that can give you strength. And I hope that you find that inner strength. It's so hard to deal with all the emotional baggage that comes with abuse. It is not an easy process to work through it and be able to cope with it so that you can feel halfway normal. And it still is going to rear its ugly head sometimes when you least expect it. But once you go through the therapy, you've got some tools in your tool bag that you can get out and say, aha, I know how to deal with you. And just, go on that journey of self discovery with that ya voice and try to make friends with it. Because it can be your very own best friend inside of you. You just have to teach it how to cope because it's the scared part of you. It's all your fear. And that's why it criticizes you because it's afraid. So it gets angry because it's afraid that the abuse will happen again, and you get these magical rules that are supposed to keep you safe, but you come up with them when you're in a frame of mind that you're just trying to survive. And, you may, if you get stranded on a desert island, you may know how to catch and eat food, but you probably aren't going to be doing that every day once you get back to civilization. So you have to think of the things that your mind comes up with to try to just keep your sanity during abuse. Those things are not the things you want to practice every day because some of them are actually doing you more harm. But a therapist can help you to see which things are useful tools and which things are rusty and maybe need to be replaced with better ones. So to use the toolbox analogy, you learn new tools to put in your little toolbox, and you've got it in this bag hanging on your side, and you want to keep them close. And it's easy to get depressed and say, "Oh, this is hopeless. Nothing's working. I just feel so bad. I just want it to stop." But it takes time to get out your tools and start fixing something that's broken, right? It doesn't happen all at once. It happens in little things, as simple as screwing a screw into wood, or putting a bracket on, or maybe you get to the point where you've got the sides up and then you put the door on and then you put the little handles on the door. There's a process. And mental things are that way too. When you feel like nothing's working and you don't know what to do, just having those little tools in the tool bag that you can bring out and say, "Okay, well, this is broken right here. I'm going to put a little metal bracket on it and I'm going to screw that in, and maybe it hurts the wood a little bit for that screw to go in. But then once the little metal plate is there, it makes the wood stronger where it's weak. Or it allows you to open a door. Or it allows you to pull a drawer out. Whatever the function is that you're needing. So it's just so important to not lose hope. Even if hope is that tiny little thread, you're going to grab onto it, and that thread won't break because hope is unbreakable. Sometimes you might lose sight of the thread and you might let go and say, "Where's that thread? Where's that thread? Oh, there it is. It's right there." You just got to keep grabbing onto it. If you lose sight of it, you will find it and it's there and you can hold on to it. You can hold on to it with both hands and say, "I've got hope. I've got hope, and hope will help me get through this." And in times of extreme stress, when you're trying to cope with something that shouldn't have been done to you, it was not fair. It but it happened, and now you've got the crisis because you can't feel good about yourself. It's a hard process to start saying, "Okay, I'm wrong about myself." It's hard to admit when you're wrong, right? But this is a good way to be wrong. I'm wrong that I can't do anything because I can. I'm wrong to feel like this can't be fixed because it can. I've got a new place to live now and I am out of the abusive situation. So it doesn't make everything all right, but the crisis is over. Now comes the time to heal. That broken bone has got to heal, and that means you have to put up with the cast, and it's going to itch, and you just want to be rid of it, and you're trying to keep it clean, but it's not staying clean, and you just don't want it there. But eventually, the day comes when the doctor takes out his little saw and he saws down the cast and then breaks it open, and your arm or your leg is healed. You can move it, and it feels great to be rid of that cast. Now, this is all in my imagination because I've never had a broken bone, but I've talked to people who have broken bones, and they say the day the cast comes off is a day to celebrate. With the psyche, it's not quite as dramatic as that. But learning not to criticize yourself so much. It's a long process, but it starts with just a single thought. It's not all bad. And when you can let that one tiny little thought that there is hope, And then thoughts keep coming. I can do things. I can handle things. I can, you add to your I can list as you go through the tools, use them, and you realize, you know, you're building your little cabinet and you say, wow, that screw was a little messy when it went in, but look at this one. I got that one in and the head is flush. It wasn't crooked. I did it. And it's the same way with these psychological things that a therapist might give you to do. Writing down about when you feel anxiety, when you feel depression, when you feel just like you can't cope anymore. And you think about, well, what happened right at that time? Why did you all of a sudden just feel like you just can't make it anymore? What triggered that? And you figure out what your triggers are. And then you plan out for, okay, what am I going to do the next time I feel like I'm going to explode all over my best friend? You know, what do I do the next time I feel like that I'm going to lie about something because I don't want to face the consequences if I tell the truth? You know, it's little by little, and sometimes you will tend to break one of those bad habits, unhealthy habits. I'm not going to say bad, I'm going to say unhealthy. It is unhealthy to criticize yourself constantly. Very mentally unhealthy to tell yourself how bad you are and how you screwed up and how you should have done this. And the word should, you got to be careful with that word because you don't want to apply it to yourself like, I should do this, I should do that. Yes, it's good to have a few shoulds. Everybody should have a few shoulds, but you don't wanna be overwhelmed with shoulds. "I should do this, I should do that, I should do blah, blah, blah," and you're a raving maniac, you know? You don't wanna drive yourself crazy like that. So, try to cut the shoulds down to what is important. Okay, I should not lose my temper and kill somebody, okay? I should not break a store window and steal something just because I want it. I should not walk in front of a moving car because I could hurt myself. There are certain shoulds that we need there. They're self-protective, you know? It's good to be on the right side of the law and not have to be looking, over your shoulder, "Oh, the policeman's gonna find out what I did." It is good to have some limits on your behavior because everybody has impulses. It's a normal part of being human, but you don't want to act on every impulse you've got, right? So, if you have a little self control, it's a good thing. But you don't want to tighten down on the self control until you are so stifled you can hardly get a breath in. So, to be healthy, there needs to be this voice that says, "Hey, that was a tough situation and you did pretty well there. You managed not to lose your temper and you really were able to handle the angry feelings you had." Now, that's something you want to hear from that voice, right? But it takes training that voice not to criticize. And it's a process that it seems like it takes forever, and sometimes you say, "Oh, it's never gonna happen," but it will. Just a little bit each day, and don't worry how much that little bit is. Just a little bit each day. Catch yourself doing something that you feel is a healthy thing for you, that is good for people around you. Think about how other people feel around you, and while you're taking care of you, try to take care of them too. Because everybody you love, you want them to be feeling good too. So try to normalize things. Try to enjoy those everyday things that aren't a hooray, but they're not oh, this is disaster. You want to look for the in between things. And if you say something and somebody takes it the wrong way, it's nice to say, yeah, I shouldn't have said that. I said it this way and I meant it to be that way and it didn't turn out very well. So what can you do about it? You can apologize to the person. You can write a letter to them, whether you give it to them or not, apologizing and saying that I wish I hadn't said that. I wish I had said so and maybe you would have said so and so back. You know, if you make a mistake, it is a learning opportunity. Mistakes are part of life. You will make them every day. But when you've been abused and you've had somebody telling you that mistakes are not okay, mistakes are disasters, they use absolutes. Oh, it's a disaster. It's the worst thing that's ever happened. It's, the perpetrator will make it out to seem like it is a really big deal when it's not. You know, think about something that somebody criticized you about that you thought was unfair. And let yourself feel the unfairness. Let yourself see it for what it really is. And listen to people who are telling you, you know, okay, you did that because you were hurting inside and you didn't really mean it that way. And forgive your younger self. You know, if it's something that happened last year or 5 years ago, allow yourself to forgive yourself. Okay, I did something bad. What can I do to try to make it better? I can't go back in the past and take it back, but maybe I can apologize to the person. Maybe I can pray about it if you're a praying sort and ask the Lord to forgive you, and then you can go through the steps to forgive yourself because everybody makes mistakes. Oh, thank you. I got a follower on Xbox. So, you need to allow yourself to be human. You need to feel that you don't have to be perfect today. You know, if you're a Christian, it says in the Bible that Jesus said, "Be ye therefore perfect." Well, he did not say you have to be perfect right now. You need to stop sinning and be absolutely perfect right now. He did not say that. What he was trying to do was encourage us to be better people. And that is a process that takes time. If you're building something, his dad was a carpenter, his earthly dad. When he was building something, he had to have a lot of patience because first you have to cut the wood. Well, first you have to have a design in mind of what you're going to make, right? So maybe you draw a plan out and then you cut, you measure, you cut, you see if it fits. If it doesn't, you cut some more off, and then you see if it fits. And it's a constant process of, okay, did I cut that the right length? Oh, maybe it needs to be shaved off a little or sanded. Maybe it's got a rough spot here. I need to sand it. I'm going to join it. How am I going to join it? Am I going to do a dovetail, or am I going to use little pegs, or what am I going, So it's a process and it takes steps. Noah did not build the ark in one day, and he had to have help to build the ark. So Heavenly Father taught him how to build the ark, but it didn't happen overnight. And it's the same with when you go through something really, really painful, you need to give yourself time to heal, but at the same time, you don't want it to paralyze you so that you're not doing anything that needs to be done, because then the guilt just heaps on and the anguish is worse because you've got a goal and you're not achieving it. You need to be nice to yourself while you're healing. Take baby steps. As baby step as they need to be. If you are really feeling paralyzed by all of the emotions, sometimes it's just turning over in bed. It can be something that little, but any forward progress is important and needed. No effort is too little when you are, essentially right now you're broken and you're healing. So I hope that something I've said has been good for somebody tonight. And it's been a difficult little thing, but I think I put all the links up there. Let me see if I did. We didn't talk about domestic abuse, but I'm going to put these links down there. How to identify abuse, and from the UN, what is domestic abuse? Because we have set some kind of a record on domestic abuse. It is really terrible. So there's lots of different kinds of abuse, and we haven't really gone into all of them. But I just want to say that abuse is a big topic and there's a lot to talk about. So if you want me to tackle this subject again in a future live stream, I will be happy to do it, because I want to get some helpful information out there, and we've just really scratched the surface. But um, if you've been a victim of abuse, it's important to get into therapy, and that therapist can kind of be your guide through this rocky, stormy sea of emotion to try to get back sort of to a normal life. And it's a gradual process. So it's good if you are in a family, it's good to take your family with you when you go to therapy, because there's things that they can learn by listening to you interact with the therapist. If you have to go by yourself, then maybe you can bring some of that back out of the session and talk to your parents about what you did in therapy and the things that you're working on and the techniques that you're trying. It's good to share that with your family and your friends, because they might learn something that might help them through a rough patch. Everybody can use these tools, even somebody who's never had any mental illness or any abuse or any trauma in their lives, because at some point, most of us will experience something very unpleasant. Your parents get old and they die. You're you may lose somebody close to you um from something that comes out of the blue. Sudden death is a lot harder to deal with than if you have some time to prepare for it, like somebody gets cancer and maybe they get better, or maybe it goes terminal, and um that just getting through that grief before you lose them is hard, and then when they die, it's really hard. You may have survivor's guilt. Why did they die and I didn't? But the important thing is that whatever life throws at us, we're going to have trials. And the best thing we can do for ourselves is to be kind to ourselves when we're during one of those trials. When we're going through a rough time, it is healthier for us not to blow up at other people because we're having a rough time, but to channel that injury, well, it can feel like an injury, but to channel that energy from all this turmoil emotion to be able to do something positive. You know, might be a good time to um, maybe take more walks, do something physical that helps to get the emotion out. Talk about what happened to somebody who understands. Try to stay away from people who are negative towards you. Give yourself permission to cry. So often, we in the United States are horrible to our men. I mean, even our women feel like they can't get emotional because a guy's going to say, "Oh, an emotional female." And but especially men and boys, they're not allowed to cry if they fall down. They got to get up and just be strong and all this stuff. We put very unrealistic expectations on anybody in a male role. And it's really sad that we do that because in Europe, men can cry, they can hug each other, they can, get emotional. It's accepted more. And so we need to all take a step back and say, it's okay to feel. It's part of being human. We have all these emotions. We're sad, we're joyful, we're angry, we're jealous, we're envious, um we're happy, we're contemplative, we're um concentrating, all these emotions and many, many more that I haven't named. And we want to allow ourselves to feel because feeling is part of the human experience. We're on this earth and we cannot say to anger, "Oh, go away. I don't want to feel you." Because if we get angry, it's a human emotion. It's going to be there. We can try to hide it, but then we might get a tummy ache or a headache later. It's much better to let that feeling out in a way that doesn't hurt anybody. So you might go build something. I was in a grief group after losing a baby, and there was this couple at the group, and the husband built a deck. He was just almost exploding with anger because anger is a part of grief. And he felt like most men feel like they've got to take care of their wives, right? So they've got to be strong for them. So they don't show their grief and the wife feels like, "Oh, he's a cold fish. He isn't crying about losing our baby." And it leads to problems in the relationship. But what happens is the husband feels like he's got to take care of his wife. So he doesn't feel free to grieve. He'll put it off for like 6 months. And then he's crying and being emotional. But oftentimes, it's more acceptable by society for a man to feel anger rather than sadness, which is stupid, but that's how society is, right? We have unrealistic expectations. So, this husband got angry and put his fist into a wall, and then he says, "Whoa, I can't be doing this." So he built a deck. The deck got his emotion out. He was able to, whenever he felt angry, he'd just go work on the deck, and he was working on the deck a lot. But it helped him work through his grief to have something to do. And it doesn't matter what that thing to do is. If it's something that pleases you, and of course, when the husband got through, you know, grief is not intense forever. Strong emotions are not long lasting. So eventually the anger petered out. Occasionally he'd get angry again and go between grief and sadness and denial and acceptance because grief is not a uh, cognitive is the wrong word. Grief is not a lateral experience at all. You go between the stages of grief. You feel better for a while, and then an anniversary comes and you're all in pieces again, and but you pull it together faster because that's how grief works. And after abuse, there is grief. So you may feel angry, or you may feel just sad, just more than sad, depressed, like you just can't get out of bed. I mean, you can feel denial, like, "Oh, I'll just pretend it never happened." It doesn't work, but we do that sometimes, especially, like, if we get bad news for a couple of days, we're just numb because we just can't believe that, you know, something has changed drastically in our lives, and it's a normal reaction to protect us, to protect our bodies. So, and then acceptance is not cut and dried either, because you may start to accept the grief, and then an anniversary comes or whatever, and you're, I thought I was done with that. But it's part of life. It ebbs and flows like the tides. So you can't control whether you feel angry or not. That is something that happens to everybody. Everybody gets angry sometime. But how you deal with that anger is the key. If you get angry and you hit somebody, that's not a very healthy way to handle it, right? But if you get angry and you go build a deck like that husband did, everybody in the family enjoyed that deck once he got it built. So it gave him some way to work through his grief, and in a way, it was a tribute to the baby that he lost, the little girl that he loved so much. So finding a purpose and working towards that purpose, using the energy of all this roiling emotion to do something creative. For me, it was writing. I would go write a story when I felt bad. And it really helped me at times to just, get my feelings out with a character with a different problem. It wasn't the same problem that I was facing. It was something different, but it was still something traumatic and that they had to work through. And through writing these stories, it was very healing for me. So, a creative outlet, art, music, exercise, building something, um, whatever that creative activity is, or if you're not a crafty kind of person, just any activity that gives you pleasure, that's not hurting anybody, and that there's a goal, right? Some people get involved in causes. A lot of people have started a movement of some sort to cure some social ill because a relative of theirs had a problem that way, and they wanted to deal with their grief, so they did that. Helping others can be very healing. So if you've got a church group that's doing service projects, or if you know somebody who's going through a rough time and you just show up at their door and say, "What can I do to help you?" "Do you need me to listen to you? Do you need me to do some house cleaning for you?" Or just anything to get you through this. A lot of times, if you help somebody else, you feel better, right? Because you feel like you're reaching out to somebody and you're doing something positive and, defeating all that negative energy around you with a little positive energy. So, anything that you can do that's not illegal or immoral that makes you feel good, maybe makes somebody else feel good too, is a good project for while you're working through this emotion. Because if you are just alone with that emotion for long periods of time, it'll drive you crazy. It's really good to just let it all out and just Um, you might try meditation. There's some really good videos on meditation on YouTube, and I could never meditate. I was hyper inside. I just couldn't get my thoughts to calm down. But I didn't really have a good idea of what meditation was all about. The basics of meditation is breathing. You breathe in through the nose slowly and you listen to your body while you're doing it. And then you exhale through your mouth slowly. Basic meditation is just breathing. It's breathing in a slow, controlled manner. When your psyche is feeling totally out of control, if you can just let those thoughts go by you, but don't contribute to them. Just concentrate on the breath in, how it feels, where it goes, and then exhale and concentrate on your body, how it feels, where the breath goes, and breathe out all the way. And just breathe in for a shorter count than you breathe out. That's basic meditation. That's all there is to it. There's a lot more, but I mean, the basic beginner meditation, and it doesn't have to be for 30 minutes. It can be for just long enough to breathe in and out slowly, maybe 5 times. And that's plenty for a first session. I used to didn't think I could do meditation. Now I do it a lot and I love it. And it really does help me to just center myself, just, you know. So there's lots of things, physical exercise, um, arts or crafts, or writing if you're feeling that way, or just, but it's important even if even if writing is not your outlet and you don't like to write, if you can just jot down when you have a major this emotion's so overwhelming, I just can't stand it. You got that moment, write down what you're feeling because you'll think you'll remember every detail of it and you won't. Write down just a little bit. It doesn't have to be a research paper. Just write down, okay, it's whatever day, whatever time I am feeling so and so. And this is what I think started it. And what you think started it might not be what it really is. We're very good at lying to ourselves. We're very good at hiding from ourselves because we want to appear normal, right? We want to appear like nothing's wrong. So we learn these coping techniques that maybe aren't very healthy for us. But if you write down every time you feel that explosion coming on, if you can just grab a notebook and just jot down date, time, what I'm feeling, what I think caused it, what's been happening today. just jot down a little bit about, oh, I went to the store, I came home, I ate supper, what happened during supper. I came in my room and all of a sudden, boom. But was it building up during the day or did it just happen out of the blue? Maybe somebody said something, or maybe you set eyes on something in your room that started you thinking about bad stuff. Whatever it is, write it down. And as you go through time, every time you have where you just don't feel on an even keel, if you just write that down, over time, you can go back and read your entries and maybe you can see patterns. Oh, this was going on this time and that time. So you can draw some conclusions and you can share it with your therapist, and it really helps a lot. So, I'm hoping that some of these things I learned in therapy might be helpful to you, Miss, sometimes because, if you're still there, I want you to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and there are ways to feel better without hurting yourself, without torturing yourself more. And when you get in therapy, then hopefully you'll get into the rhythm of trying this and trying that and seeing what works, and you and your therapist go on this journey together. So I hope you find a good one and one that's healthy for you. And I hope that you'll come see me again. I'll be here tomorrow night from 8 to 10, and goodness, it's 11:30. Abuse is a serious big topic, and we didn't cover half of what I thought I was gonna talk about tonight, but it was more important to talk to you, Miss, sometimes and see what was going on with you and see if I could come up with something helpful. So, since this isn't really a medium for being able to listen, um, and you only wanna type so much, and I can understand that. So, hopefully I put something out that will help you and will help other people who might watch this. So, hopefully, um, I'll come back to this topic another time and talk about things like domestic abuse and how that affects children, because that's a serious, bad, bad thing for children. So, in the meantime, so what did we talk about tonight? We talked about how to identify child abuse. We talked about what symptoms somebody might have. We talked about to your kids to prevent sexual abuse, the things that they ought to be aware of. And we talked about tips for talking with children about abuse, because with children, you don't want to talk adult things. You want to just make it not so scary for them. And then we talked about um, helplines, and there are quite a few available. Rain has one. Um, Let me just do a quick search on helplines. And I'm just going to copy a bunch of these links. Let me just put a bunch of them down here. Okay. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is a good one. And if one hotline is busy, call another one. Don't wait. You're feeling really, really bad, and you don't have to be absolutely suicidal to call one of these helplines. If you're feeling like you're going to implode any minute, that's enough. Hello. So, if you're really, really upset and you need to talk to somebody, go ahead and use the line. And we'll go back. Crisis hotlines and resources. American Psychological Association. So, here's another one. I'll just go through and get a bunch of them. There are always other hotlines. So, um, let's see. So, here's a bunch of them on a Luna network. So, I'll that one there. Stop It Now is a very good resource and has a lot of hotlines. Some of these may overlap, but hopefully there will be enough of them that, well, I did that twice. Okay. And a lot of these sites have really good information. So definitely, they don't just have the hotline, they also have self help. So here's one for dating abuse and overeating. Oh, 7 hotlines. Okay. Let's see, the crisis text line, which was one that that Miss Sometimes was talking about, but he wasn't getting an answer back, so they may have had a bunch of people tonight that were not feeling good. But don't give up. If you here's DBS Alliance, Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance. So there's a lot of different ones. Lots of different ones. So I'm just going to put a bunch of them out here. And if you look up Crisis Hotline, you're going to find a bunch of resources. So let's see. And even the Housing and Urban Development has stuff. They have, that's for Tennessee. Let's see. Alrighty, so An undeveloped. Go to your state and you will find a list of crisis hotlines. Even here. Okay, so that was surprising to see it on the Department of Housing and Urban Development, but it makes sense. If you're about to lose your home, you're probably losing your mind too, and need a little help. So, and you can look under your state too. You can say crisis hotlines under your state name. And of course, here's the NAMI helpline, which is an important one. I'm just looking through. There's a Veterans Crisis Line. So if you're a veteran and you need help, here's one especially for you. So if you're a part of any group, there are usually going to be crisis lines for your particular place. So mentalhealth.gov has a place to get help. And Youth Alliance is another good one. So definitely it's good to have a list of these hotlines. And you don't need a whole list, just call until you get somebody. So just call one and another until you get somebody. If one area is busy, maybe another is not. So don't give up. Keep trying. Find different ones. So let's see. Okay. Here's an international source. If you've got a friend in another country that needs help. Okay. And there are even support hotlines for loneliness, depression, and isolation. That's cool. So, yeah. There are all sorts of. Here's a teen health and wellness hotline. Okay, so it's really cool. A, a lot of good resources. So, it's a lot, a lot, a lot. So, that's a good many of them, and I don't want to just put everything on the internet there, but hotlines for help now. Basically, if you've got a problem, there is a hotline for it. Except that it's not going to let me put a whole bunch of them at once. Let me see. But, let's see. So there's a good many of them, and let's see, that's down to crisis text line. Then can do a few more. And there's these other ones. Okay. Lots of them. If you have a particular need, you can look that up online under hotline for and whatever problem that you are looking for something. There is a sexual abuse hotline. Let me put that one up there too. Let me look for. So if we're going to put abuse helpline. There's the hotline, which is, well, okay. This is for domestic violence. So I'll put this one, I'll put a few of these specialty ones. And Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline. I'll put this one because this is more relevant to what we were talking about tonight. National Child Abuse Hotline. And there we go. So I will just place what I had in there with this. There we go. All right, I'm going to quit with that. And mess sometimes. I hope you're still there, and I hope that you are calling a helpline right now. Wow, lots of people. Academy Impossible, Bing Cortana, Casino Thanks, Fix Lovin', Have This Too, Joint Efforts, Social Friends 11, and Stream Elements is my bot. Thank all of you for being with me tonight, and I hope that this has been helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and leave now, but remember, if you're feeling like you're gonna commit suicide, call 911. But if you feel like talking to somebody and letting it all out that way, please use one of these hotlines or look up your own. There are hotlines for every kind of grief, abuse situation, domestic violence, all sorts of things specifically. Or you can just call a general crisis line and just tell them how you're feeling. And I'm telling you, it really helps a lot. But, when you're having a crisis, it's not easy to just even have hope. But there is hope. That's the good news. Talking to somebody can sometimes turn it around where you think you can't cope, and then you start to think, well, maybe I can get through tonight. So, for all of you who are having problems, I hope that you will get the help you need. It's out there. Just reach out for that phone and call it. In the meantime, I will be talking about another disability topic tomorrow night, so I hope you'll join me for that. And mess sometimes, I hope you're okay, and I hope you're getting the help you need. Take care, and I'll be praying for you tonight. Everybody, I hope that you are coping okay, and I hope that you're not letting the disabilities get you down, because they sure can. Take care, and if you're a praying sort, or if you just want to send some good vibes that way, think about Ness sometimes and send him some love, and I'll be doing that too. Y'all take care and have a good night. See you tomorrow night. Good night.